Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Bolt City Podcast. Dave Palet, Josh Palet, and Mario Herron. Very exciting because in just a few days, we're going to have the NFC and AFC championship games, and then we'll be talking about the Super Bowl and who the matchups are. Again, guys, it's the four best teams, honestly believe, remaining. It's not like one of these teams doesn't belong or it's that storyline team like it was the Bengals a year ago. In my opinion, these are the four best teams. Can't wait to see what happens on Sunday. Do you guys feel the same way, that these are the most deserving teams?
100%. These are the four best teams. All the teams are deserving. The Bengals were very hot going into the end of the season. The Chiefs have been hot all year. Eagles, number one seed in the NFC. And what are the 49ers on like a 9-10 game win streak? These are definitely the four best teams left.
Without a doubt. I mean, I think we said it when you hit like midpoint this year. A lot of people were like, oh, it's either Eagles, Niners in the NFC, and then in the AFC. Bills were obviously up there, but it was always Chiefs, and it was what can Joe Burrow do it again? So 100%. Four best teams talent-wise everywhere across the board. No real underdog story. You know, it's not like we don't have a Giants or Bengals, which I guess kind of stinks. But at the same time, I'd rather have that than a pretty not good team play a top team. And you're like, well, this sucks.
Well, here's a couple interesting things, and I know there are tons of stats that people are going to pull out over the next few days, and you're going to hear even more so in the next couple of weeks leading up to the Super Bowl. But the four highest paid quarterbacks are not playing this weekend. Kind of interesting. One. Two is there's only one number one overall pick quarterback playing this weekend, meaning Joe Burrow, right? So it's always interesting when you look at these guys, and we talk about mock drafts, and we'll get tons into the draft in the next few months, but how accurate these guys are and reading talent. I mean, this is their one job. The old joke, the old line, you had one job. Well, your one job was to pick the best quarterback available. Yet so many guys passed. I mean, round after round, you see it. You see it in other positions too. I mean, Derrick Henry was a second-round pick. You see things like this happen all the time in the NFL, and not just the NFL, other professional sports as well. But I find it fascinating. And the reason I bring this up is Brock Purdy is an amazing story, to the point where we brought this up around a month ago. Aren't the 49ers in a situation where Trey Lance is no longer in the picture to be your starting quarterback, but you're going to make the move to say Brock Purdy's our guy for years to come? And now you're hearing more and more that Trey Lance is now trade bait, and Brock Purdy is going to be the guy for the 49ers heading into the 2023 season. But there's this thing that came out, and, Josh was at Alabama. And for Josh and I, we're huge Nick Saban fans, okay? And Nick Saban, for college football, is the greatest coach of all time. And I don't know if you guys saw this, but it's the clip of Brock Purdy, and then it's everything listed Nick Saban said about him. Did you guys catch this week?
Yeah,
I did. Nick Saban saying why Brock Purdy couldn't go to Alabama. Number one, not tall enough. His arms below average. A couple other things. And I'm like, well, is that a shot at Nick Saban saying you can't read talent? Because as far as I know, he picked guys like Jalen Hurts over you. He picked Tua over you. Mac Jones over you. He won national championship after national championship. You could sit there and say Nick Saban didn't pick Brock Purdy, but guess what? Alabama didn't fall to a team outside the top 25. They were still winning national championships. So to say Brock Purdy's an amazing story, it is. But to take a shot at Nick Saban over it, the way people change the narrative, I think, is bizarre. They were both very successful in what happened to work out.
Yeah, I'm going to flip the story on you. He was offered by Alabama. He was a 3-star quarterback out of Arizona. Nick Saban did offer him. The fact that Nick Saban actually offered a 3-star quarterback that ended up where he is now just shows that Nick Saban saw something that people didn't. Josh Jacobs, the leading rusher in the NFL, was only recruited by 2 schools. I think it was Tulsa and Alabama. You say, why would Alabama want a 3-star running back out of Oklahoma that nobody's ever heard of? Because they saw something that people didn't. For you people on Twitter or wherever else that want to go after Nick Saban, just stop. He sees other things that you don't. Don't even try to do this game. Brock Purdy's story is unbelievable, but Nick Saban did see something when he was in high school.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
No, I just said Nick Saban also offered Minshew, right, in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Also, Jalen was a 3-star quarterback as well, correct?
4 stars. He was 4.
4 stars. Sorry about that.
But he was low. Sorry, he was low 4-star. He was low, though. Yeah.
My thing, too, is like, correct me if I'm wrong here, Josh, but I feel like Saban's also not the type, if you're a recruit, to tell you, hey, buddy, you're going to be a starter. You're going to be our best friend for 4 years. Like, if you want steakhouses every single night, we're going to get it for you. Something tells me, like, the guys like that tend not to win. It's usually the coaches that walk in there and go, hey, you're incredibly talented. This is your potential. This is it. but you don't have guaranteed anything here. You got to earn it. And usually that separates, the guys from that are mid-level to the best. Dean Smith had a great quote. You come to UNC and you're going to win. And we're going to compete for championships. You don't go to UNC, we're going to win. We're going to compete for championships. So that's kind of like what I thought right away. I'm like, hey, like Saban was probably not there kissing his, hand and bowing down to him because he doesn't do that. And two, like the tweet made me laugh because I'm like, it paints like a picture like that Alabama just went crushing down. Like it was like, we didn't get Brock Purdy and then we sucked. And then, we were at the stock of the SEC. It's like, no. Instead, you got Mac Jones, Tua, and Jalen Hurts, who's looking pretty good. Oh, and Bryce Young, who could be better than all three. So I think Bama has done okay. I think Saban has recovered from.
One thing you just said about North Carolina, and Michael Jordan says it all the time, that Dean Smith was the only coach that didn't promise him a starting position. Yeah. That's the greatest basketball player of all time. Yet he goes to North Carolina as a freshman, hits the game-winning shot, and wins the national championship. But he said, I went there because that was me. That was me wanting to be a competitor, to say I want to play with the best. I think it's a fantastic line. Also shows a lot of character of what guys are made out of. Are you willing to compete?
Yeah, so people ask me all the time, what makes Alabama Alabama? And I agree with Mario. It's a winning culture. If you want to play with the best, you come to Alabama. I think that's a big reason why schools like Oregon and Miami aren't winning. People go to Miami for the U, what they were back in 2001 and the 90s and the 80s. They don't go for hard work, my opinion. A lot of guys go there for the coolness of being part of the U. Same with Oregon. People want to go to Oregon for cool jerseys. It's not like, hey, we're going to go to Oregon to win a national championship. That's the difference. Jalen Hurts, like Dave said, went to Alabama and bet on himself. He was the lowest rated quarterback that I can ever remember going to Alabama, and still was a starter as a freshman, the only freshman to start under Nick Saban. Amazing. Look at all the quarterbacks that are left. Like Dave said, none of them were supposed to be here. Joe Burrow at Ohio State was forgettable. Nobody knew who Joe Burrow was. When he went to LSU his first year, he was forgettable. His second year, he turned it on and became what he is now. But all four quarterbacks left were not supposed to be here. It's an amazing story. Trevor Lawrence is so unique that he's like the top player in high school, the top player in college, and a good NFL quarterback. It's so rare that things happen that way. It's awesome to see these other guys make it to the top.
So, guys, since we're talking about quarterbacks, I said we do it right now. We did this last week. We rated the 8 quarterbacks that were available in the playoffs, 1 through 8. And we had our picks, and they're pretty close. But let me ask you, 1 through 4, rate your quarterbacks on 1 through 4.
Oh, that's easy.
You want to go first? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go first. It's easy. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes is the best player in the NFL. No, I don't know how anybody could debate that. Patrick Mahomes is the number 1 player in the NFL, number 1 quarterback. Joe Burrow is the second best quarterback in the NFL. For me, he's clear-cut number 2. Jalen Hurts is number 3, not far behind Joe Burrow, but definitely number 3 behind Joe Burrow. And then Brock Purdy. No offense to Brock Purdy, but he's the last pick of the draft. He's number 4.
That's my list, and the only thing I'll add to it is it's Jalen Hurts, 50 piles of crap, then Brock Purdy. Not saying like Brock Purdy, but I'm not saying I'm not saying that in terms of like I think Brock Purdy's like terrible or anything like that. The 50 piles of crap probably wasn't the best, but my point is that like the talent level is so like that's such a big talent level jump. You know what I'm saying? Like just giving it one spot doesn't do it justice. Like these 3 guys are so light years ahead of Brock Purdy. It's insane. Brock Purdy's a fine player. He's doing great and probably the best offensive system in the NFL, especially for a young QB. But I want to say this and put big emphasis on it that couldn't be a bigger gap between those 3 guys and good old Brock and San Fran. Just want to
and I know 49er fans would probably say something, disagree with that. The no offense line is hilarious. It's like the bless your heart line in the South, they say, before you insult somebody. But we all have the same thing. We all have the same list. Now, here's the deal. I understand Brock Purdy's undefeated. I can say this, and this is not a shot at Brock Purdy. I believe it's an amazing story. And if he continues to win, even a more amazing story. He's undefeated, right, as a starting quarterback. And he's outplayed other veteran quarterbacks who are making a tremendous amount of money, like a Dak Prescott. He's great, but the other 3 guys you can argue MVPs, right? Most valuable players in the entire league. If Jalen stayed healthy, you can make a pretty good argument that Jalen's the MVP. I agree with Josh. Mahomes, I think, is the best player in the NFL. That's always hard to say when you're rooting for the Chargers and you see him twice a year and he breaks your heart twice a year. Mahomes is outstanding. Joe Burrow's just just an amazing talent and everything he's done to beat the odds. But every one of these guys basically has a storyline to, this is why you make a movie, right? Mahomes, where he was drafted and where he came from and having a losing record in college, and Andy Reid seen something in him was been incredible. Joe Burrow having to change schools, Jalen changed schools also, but Jalen, again, an amazing story as a guy who didn't even think he was an NFL type player just in private, says to Josh, I'm not an NFL guy. And not only is he an NFL guy, he has a chance of playing in the Super Bowl. So they all have amazing stories. Nobody gets here by accident. And so what Brock Purdy has done has been fantastic. Boy, you cannot put a quarterback, in my opinion, in a better situation than he's been. Number one, having a coach that is offensive minded, and two, the talent that's around him. It's hard to argue that anyone has more offensive talent around him than Brock Purdy.
He does. I mean, he has so many good players around him, great players around him. George Kittle is remarkable. He got 2 all-pro running backs in Samuel and McCaffrey. Elijah Mitchell's very good. The whole team's Brandon Ayuk's a really good receiver. What a great position he's in, but he's been playing well. I got a question for Mario because Dave and I are biased for Alabama fans, right? There's huge arguments on Twitter for the last 16 weeks, 20 weeks. Is Jalen Hurts Oklahoma or Alabama? And people say Joe Burrow, Ohio State, or LSU. Do you like that argument? Do you have an opinion on that argument? What do you think?
That's I love arguments like these, especially with like those like Oklahoma and Bama, because 2 huge like college football fan bases. I give Hurts honestly to Bama right away, just because I'm like that's like you were there longer, and that's like when I like really remember you as. Like it could be a trivia question in like 10 years. It's like where do you play school? I guarantee you more people will say Bama than Oklahoma. He also was in a national championship game at Bama. So I would say for Hurts, it's definitely Bama. But like Burrow, it's obviously LSU. But I would give it. And also, I just don't like Oklahoma.
Well, the argument, yeah. Hey, right, we're right there with you. The argument back would be, well, Joe Burrow spent more time at Ohio State. Why isn't he Ohio State? He graduated from Ohio State. I'm just playing devil's advocate, but that's going to be the argument right back at you.
Yeah. Well, it's also like Joe Burrow was a part of the greatest team in college football history. So
yeah,
I understand.
Yeah.
And how many national championship games did Jalen play with Alabama? And how many did he play with Oklahoma? I mean, he became famous for what he did at Alabama, right? I mean, obviously he just happened to be, he had Tua behind him. I think, honestly, I think exactly the way Mario said it. That's the way it goes. Joe Burrow became, on the map because of what he did at LSU, and Jalen obviously was on the map what he did at Alabama. But that's it. The clip they keep showing, the Jalen Brock Purdy matchup in college is kind of right. The one that goes to multiple overtimes. That is crazy. And then you see them shaking hands at midfield and all that stuff. But that's wild to see here. These 2 guys are in the NFC Championship game. This NFC Championship game. Go ahead. I
want to bring up something Dave said before we move on from this. When I was in college, Tua, was coming in, and he took over for Jalen in the national championship. Everybody knows that. And I would talk to my dad all the time. I'd say, what does Alabama do? You have Jalen, who's won SEC, offensive player of the year as a freshman. He's a great player. You got Tua that just won the national championship. What do you do if you're Alabama? And I think Dave said Jalen would be a hell of a middle linebacker. Am I wrong about that?
I did. And
wait
a second. Wait a second here. Okay, hold on. He obviously he's goofing on me on my personnel evaluation. Was Jalen the strongest guy, pound for pound, in that weight room at Alabama?
The strongest I've ever seen. Yeah.
Do you hear that, Mario?
Pound for pound.
Strongest he's ever seen. And in high school, he was a power lifter. Oh, you're thinking it. I could see it in your forehead. So here's the deal. The guy was extremely strong. He wasn't a great passer at Alabama. He was a great runner, and he was extremely strong, but he wasn't as good as Tua. And so I was like, you know what? If this guy gets forced out of the position, you don't want him to just disappear. But I thought, man, as strong as this guy is and as smart as he is, and he is an incredibly smart football player, I go, this guy would be a tremendous linebacker, is what I was thinking. And so I
don't think Dave's crazy, but it was just funny. We were talking about evaluations, and Dave was like, hey, call me crazy. I think Jalen would be the hell of a linebacker, which I actually agreed with him, by the way. I'm not throwing myself under the bus. I said Jalen would be a hell of a linebacker. Dude, the guy was 17 years old, Mario. Deadlifting like 300 pounds, squatting like 600. I'm like, dude, what the hell is going on here? He's a power lifter, obviously, in high school.
60 of those guys are in the NFL, Mario. And yet he's like the strongest guy pound for pound in there. at 17 years
You
old.
had the
Like, what the hell?
You have the offensive lineman, defensive lineman circling around the quarterback to watch him lift. I've never, you never see that. It's not a thing. It was just weird
Oh,
watching that. But sorry, cut you off.
No, like I remember Twitter, like they'd always have his videos and it would be like 700 pounds, not 700, but it's like 500 pounds and him doing it like easy. And I'm like,
no
Jesus
problem.
Christ. And that was the biggest gambling throw of my life, was that championship game when Tua went in at halftime.
Did you win on that?
Yes, because I meant to put $50 in and I accidentally added a 0. So found out at halftime, and when Saban put Tua in, I wanted to punch a TV because I was like, it's not the time to play a little game of QB switcheroo here, Nick. Let's just win the football game. So that was, yeah, I wanted to cry. But hey, we ended up winning that one. We cashed.
So let me ask you, the difference of the quarterbacks of the four, as Mario, nicely put it, there's a big gap he feels between Jalen and Purdy. Does it come back to the quarterback play on Sunday? Does it come back to the quarterback play in any of these games? Is that the difference, or is the difference made somewhere else in these games?
I'll ask you back the same question, a little bit different. Which game does the quarterback matter more? 49ers, Eagles, Chiefs, Bengals.
Oh, that's a good one. Which game does the quarterback play matter most? For me, it's the Chiefs. I think the Eagles, Niners rosters are tremendous, and I think Cincinnati's rosters, actually, offensive side, I think is even better. Am I wrong when I think that the Chiefs have the worst offensive talent out of all those guys? And that's crazy to think when you were talking about they have Kelsey on their team.
I don't even think it's close. From a talent perspective, I don't think it's close. They might have the second best offensive line, I would say, second or third, but they're talent wise, they're not that great. I think the best rosters in the NFL, I think, are the Eagles and the 49ers. Mario, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I would say it's that. But I'd almost argue that because of the little bit lesser of like the QB caliber in the Niners Eagles game, that it's more important, right? Like, so the Niners last game against the Cowboys, it felt like Shanahan was almost coaching to not lose. He was pulling a Staley. Like at one point in the game, it was just like he's just coaching not to lose and make sure like Purdy doesn't, get exposed too much. And I feel like if you do that against the Eagles and Jalen Hurts, you're gonna get exposed. You're bad. Yeah. And we're gonna sit here and go, maybe Purdy's not the guy next year. And you don't want to kill his confidence going into next year. So I think that's why for that game, I would say the QB play just is more important because one, Jalen's going to have a big game, obviously. And if he can have a big game and put a lot of that pressure on Purdy to go, hey, buddy, you can't just hand the ball off and throw for 180 yards and skip your way there. No, you're going to need 2 touchdown passes. Like, no, you're going to need to play like you're a top 5 QB. And you're going to need to make plays. You can't rely on other people. So I think for that reason, when I look at that, it's like I think that's a bigger QB game because, the Eagles are going to really, really make Shanahan go, play your QB, have him play. Can't hide him. He's there. No hide and seek. We found him. No, where's Waldo? We know where Buddy is. Like, here we go.
If you guys,
Brock Purdy,
go ahead.
Sorry, I think Brock Purdy has the hardest matchup, right? Out of the 3 quarterbacks going this weekend, dude, on the road in Philly, like you said, the Eagles are going to try to make you win the game. You've been fine, but you haven't tried to win games by yourself. I think it's going to be really interesting to see if Brock Purdy gets exposed. The Eagles have been so good at scouting or, having good game plans against these other teams. Brock Purdy is going to be very interesting to watch. Also, I heard from some NFL players in a podcast I listened to that they think Patrick Mahomes is in a walking boot up until today, which is nuts, dude. Like this guy, they said, is probably grimacing as he walks, is in a walking boot, yet he's supposed to play on Sunday in the AFC Championship. I can't even believe a guy with the high ankle sprain is going to play this soon. It's nuts to me.
You know who can't believe it? Anthony Davis of the Lakers. Can't believe it. Oh, my God. Completely shocked.
Yeah, that hurt.
So I 100% believe that. I think this guy's in a walking boot up until the last minute. At the same time, he's going, I can get it done. I mean, Mahomes does things that we
Did you see him at the press conference, though?
No, I did not.
He was no walking boot. No walking boot at the press conference.
I think I would do that, too. if I was Mahomes going into the press conference because the media is going to write about it. I mean, if you're Andy Reid and if you're him, number one is you don't want to show, your injury because let's be honest, if you're the Bengals and you see that this guy is barely able to make it to the podium, what are you doing, man? 1 15-yard penalty, Mahomes is out. Right? I mean, as cheap as that sounds, it's true. 1 15-yard penalty, guess who's going to the Super Bowl? The Bengals are going to the Super Bowl. And it sounds dirty as can be, but let's be honest. No one's going to remember if the Bengals win the Super Bowl that they took Mahomes out in the first quarter. That storyline disappears, and nobody likes excuses in sports. But if I'm the Chiefs, I'm 100% going to do it. He's fine. Well, we know he's not fine. We know he's not. Yeah, will he be able to run like he normally does? Probably not. But, man, he gets rid of the ball in all different ways, left-handed and no-look passes and everything else that he does that we've never seen before that makes him as effective as he is. He will 100% play in this game. I have zero doubt that he's going to play.
Yeah, he's going to play. He has to play. I mean, Chad Henne, come on, dude. Chad Henne's like one of those guys who are like, how much money has Chad Henne netted over the years from being in NFL? People forget he even went to Michigan. It's been so long since he's been in college. Dave taking out the quarterback is so Dave. He's the guy that roots against the Cobra Kai. When he says sweep the leg, Dave's like, yeah, I like that. Let's sweep the leg here.
Good
Let's
idea.
take out Daniel
Good plan.
Russo. It's good.
Yeah.
Dave's also the same guy when you watch a football game with him. He goes, you should take out the kicker here. I bet you they don't
Dude,
have
100%.
You look at him, you go, this guy's a psychopath. Yeah. What?
Your bounty program.
No, I'm not a
big
yes.
guy.
Okay, I almost denied it, but that is a yes. Here's the deal, Mario. Okay, ready? Especially in the NFL. In college, it might not work as well, but in the NFL, it works. You only travel with one kicker. You take the kicker out in the first opportunity. Again, nobody's going to remember the kicker got busted up in the first quarter when your team's winning the Super Bowl. But think what it does to a team. You take a kicker out. Not only are you not hitting extra points, field goals. What about kickoffs? Dude, it's the easiest road to winning a big game is by taking the kicker out in the NFL. I don't know why more teams don't do it. It goes an accident. We try to block the kick, man. I don't know. The guy ran into him. Sorry that the guy lost 2 ACLs.
He's a psycho, Mario. When I was a kid,
dude, I want to win. I like parades.
Yeah,
and I like trophy cases
too. You're crazy.
I like parades. Yeah, I like tearing ACLs and parades.
Dude, when I was a kid, I'm going off track here, but when I was a kid in Little League, I threw really hard, the hardest in the whole league. And my dad says, in the first pitch of the game, I want you to throw it as hard as you can behind the batter. I'm like, why? You should just do it. So I throw it as hard as I can behind the batter. Every kid for the rest of the game stands out of the batter's box. I just grew it right down the middle. They're all afraid they're going to get hit. He goes, was that the easiest win of your life or what? I go, yeah, it was.
No, thing is, Josh forgot something important right there. Okay. I said,
What?
Gun that ball behind the kid as hard as you can. And then when you go to get the ball, tell the kid who's batting, sorry, sometimes I just don't know where it's going. And that's right. That was exactly what I said.
Yeah.
Guess what, Mario? The kid didn't give up his hit his entire 12-year-old year. It was awesome.
Probably quit the game. Probably quit baseball. Hey, if it helps, if it helps, I had my freshman year, I was playing varsity for lacrosse, and I was like, that was a humble brag right there, but we sucked. I was like 5'2", 5'3", and I had a guard like the senior, like 6'3", way bigger. And my oldest brother, who's like as old as Jesus, was our assistant coach, who was like, hey, first play, just hit him as hard as you can. And then after that, he's not going to mess with you. I was like, really? And he goes, oh, yeah. He goes, you'll shut him down after that. Dude, I put all 102 pounds of me into that kid. And the very next play, I've never been hit harder in my life. Oh. And I had to run to the sideline. And I literally looked at my brother. I go, hey, dip, whatever. Cuss word right there. I was like, that didn't work. And he goes, I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't think he was a hard body. He's kind of about it. And I was like, yeah, thanks. Kid, I got a freaking headache, dude. And he was like, well, we're going to have to suck it up. I'm like, all right. That sounds good.
That didn't work out the way I thought it was going to go.
Yeah. I thought it completely was going another way. I thought
I thought you won the game, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was going to go in another way. Yeah, it sounds brutal to say take out the kicker. But again, man, we're talking about the Super Bowl. I mean, we're talking legacies here. What are we doing here? I mean, this is where it all matters. If you're going to do it, this is the time to do it. I know it sounds psycho, as Josh has literally said on the show, my dad's a psycho. Here, I got one for you real quick, Mario, all right? To show you how nuts it is. Little League baseball, okay? Little League.
Dude, why is it so Little League?
All right, because Little League has the best stories. That's why, okay? Dude, I'm coaching against a kid on the other team who has to get that one at bat, like the kid that doesn't even know how to put his uniform on right, who gets his belt, that kid. and he hits a walk-off game-winning home run in the last inning, okay? And that kid is so happy, and the crowd's going crazy, and he skips over first base, and he skips over second, third, doesn't even touch home because his teammates mob him at home plate. And my team's walking off the field in disgust that we just lost. And I go to the umpire. I go, I'm protesting. He goes, what are you protesting? I go, he missed the base. He goes, which one? I go, all of them. He goes, are you serious? You want me to call that kid out? I go, what's the rule book say? The rule book says you call him out because he missed a base, and I'm protesting. And he goes, all right, batter's out. Boom. And we won the game, okay? It might have been the biggest jerk thing I've ever done, but, dude, I like to win, Mario. It's really important, okay?
And did that kid sign up for Little League that year?
Yeah. No, that kid never played another game the rest of his life. He quit. I made it a miserable experience. I created a horrible childhood memory for that kid, and I'm embarrassed by it. Nice. But I'm telling you, that's how competitive I get at times. That's why you take it. I love it. Actually, who won the championship that year? This guy.
You did. Yeah.
A Little League trophy.
Sorry.
That's what it takes.
I'm Al Bundy, dude.
Yeah. Who has 2 thumbs and is 2009 Little League champion? This guy. Yeah.
This guy.
Sorry, what are we talking about?
Sorry, it's all over the place. All right, here's my question for you guys. Oh my gosh. Damn, that was so funny. Here's my question for both you guys. Is if you were a head coach of you could pick any of the 4 teams, which team do you want to be the head coach of? Who has the best roster?
Oh, that's such a good question. The Eagles. I want to be the coach of the Eagles. They're solid. I think the most solid team all around. What do you guys think?
I would go Cincinnati because I would think Division II. I mean, we talked about Lamar out of Baltimore. Two glove Pickett. I'd take my chances with. I think Cleveland's going to keep burning. And then you have Joe Burrow, who's got that just killer mentality, and Jamar Chase. So I would take Bengals.
I love the fact that we all are going to pick 3 different teams. You know, that shows you how great these games are.
You can go Niners.
I'm going to go Niners. And I do believe, Josh, on this point is that I think the Eagles are the most rounded team, well-rounded team, whereas the 49ers have the biggest stars. Am I wrong on that? I think the 49ers overall have the most like big-time stars on their roster. And the problem is the quarterback position is last. You know, out of the 4, they're last. But overall, you know, they have the biggest stars. The guys most likely to say who will end up in the Hall of Fame, the Niners have the most of those guys.
Okay, let me ask you guys a question. Take away the quarterbacks. Who's the best player left in the playoffs?
I think it's pretty easy, isn't it?
But do you have to go offense, defense? I mean, what do you say?
If it's defense, it's Boza. And if it's offense, it's Mahomes. And I don't
take away the quarterback.
Take away the QB?
Yeah.
Oh, take away the QB. That's going to be a little bit. I'm going to go off the top of my head. I'd probably say, I don't want to say him. I mean, definitely, probably altogether, probably Nick Bosa. Yeah.
You're going to say it. I know you're going to say your guy right now. Say it. Do you say Kelsey?
I was going to go Kelsey.
That was my other choice, was Kelsey.
I was going to go Kelsey.
Who was your first choice?
Automatic.
Mario, who's your first choice?
Boza.
Okay, offense is Kelsey, though, right?
Yeah.
He's only Hall of Famer left in the playoffs.
Yeah.
See, I look for that mismatch. To me, the biggest
sucks, though.
The biggest mismatch should be Debo. It should be Debo Samuel. It should be the biggest mismatch, but it's Kelsey. Yeah. Kelsey's the guy that at any time, no matter what the situation, can get open. I mean, he can. And there's some really talented players playing this weekend. I mean, extremely from the offensive side of the ball. But Kelsey's the one guy that nobody can ever stop. You know, we've seen games. It's weird that now that Purdy's with the Niners, that Kittle's played up to what we thought Kittle was. If anyone who's ever had Kittle on fantasy football, he disappears weeks after week. And then all of a sudden, Kelsey is that guy that, you know, all 17 games, man, Kelsey makes a difference. He's that guy. I dare you 3rd and 3 to stop the Chiefs. If they're going to Kelsey, they find a way to get him to the ball.
Yeah, he's the only one left in the playoffs that takes over games consistently. Jamar Chase, you know, missed most of the year. T. Higgins, not every game. Debo gets hurt, it seems like. Christian McCaffrey would probably be my second pick, honestly, is the second best player left in the playoffs. But I agree with you, Mario. Nick Bosa is the best defensive player left, and I think they have the second best defensive player as well in Fred Warner. That's the difference between the 49ers and these other teams is their defense is filled with studs, dude. Dre Greenlaw, Jimmy Ward. I mean, all over the defense, they have freaks. So I want to see how the 49ers in the Super Bowl. I want to see if the 49ers make it to the Super Bowl, how they match up with one of these big-time quarterbacks. Even Jalen this week is going to be interesting. Jalen versus Fred Warner. For any of you football freaks out there, you probably are if you're listening to this show, Jalen versus Fred Warner is going to be an absolute chess match. You guys should be watching on that.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, it's Fred Warner is a guy that doesn't get enough publicity because we're so used to watching the ball. We don't spend enough time watching the defense. I mean, the fact that Mario picked Bosa, we all agreed is probably the best defensive player in the league. But Fred Warner's insane. The Eagles are so well-rounded on defense. It's amazing. But at the same time, I mean, how many of us honestly thought that without Tyreek Hill, the Chiefs would be back in this game?
I didn't think that.
Yeah, that was
no. Tyreek Hill is still a freak. That just shows how good Patrick Mahomes is doing that without Travis Kelce. Like I don't even know how the Chiefs have one guy. It seems like, and he still dominates every week. Like you think you're just keying on Travis Kelce and let Juju or Marquez Valdez-Scantling or Kadarius Toney beat you, but it just seems like every week Travis Kelce gets off. That's kind of nuts, man.
And like I was a big non-Juju believer. Like I didn't think he was anything when AB left and was number one role at the Pittsburgh. I was like, I'm not impressed by him. I don't think he's that talented of a receiver. Tyreek is going to make a very quickly big boost for the Dolphins. And then we're sitting here going, all right, I forgot Mahomes was as great as he is. And now we're sitting here and they're in the AFC Championship one more time. He's not 100%. He's never beaten Burrow, which is also just a storyline that keeps getting bigger and bigger. The thing that does worry me about this game is I know you guys have seen it, but the Bengals, it feels like their head's getting too big, right? It's one thing to know that you're the best. And it's one thing to know that you're at the top of the mountain, right? But it's also another thing to kind of stay humble and to kind of keep going. If you're great at something, you don't have to tell people that you're great. This is going to be a terrible analogy, but sit with me.
Agree.
Usually, like when you see like movies and you're like, oh, these mafia guys. Who's always a mafia guy that gets killed right away, right? It's the guy that does this. Loudest guy in the room. It's me. I'd be the loudest guy in the room. You know what I'm saying? I would be. I'd be,
Is that in your yearbook? Most likely to get killed in a mafia movie?
Yeah, I'd be, we're going to make you. And then they shoot me in the back of the head. And then Josh would be the one that would just be steaming up the ranks. Like a little quiet, just in the room, just observing, dude. And I'm just sitting here going like, yeah, I'll take the bullet for you. But to my point of like the Bengals is that, you have Eli Apple who's just talking just so much crap to the Bills, which fine, that's a good win for you. But also know that your opponent this weekend is the Kansas City Chiefs, who is a better football team than the team you played last week. And on top of that, in the locker room, it is now reported, and it was on the Trade Rumors account. It's just been going around that they're calling Arrowhead Burrowhead.
That's a
bold.
Good one. Yeah,
very bold, very bold. So that's worries me about the Bengals. I think the head's getting too big over there in Cincinnati.
It's such an interesting matchup. The one thing, if I was a coach going against these teams, I think I'd be most concerned about the Chiefs because you never know what Andy Reid's going to throw at you. It always seems like Andy Reid has a different playbook every game. Like there's always something that happens in an Andy Reid game where you go, I've never seen that play before, or that was a great play. Whether all of a sudden it's a tight end rushing for the 1 yard you need that's in motion that you're like, it wasn't Kelce that got the ball. It's just always something unusual that you're like, that's good. Like if I was a high school coach, I'd be watching Chiefs games and writing plays down. He's tough to go against. He's going to attack your defense in ways that you just haven't been attacked before. Whereas I think the other three teams are like, hey, this is what we are. You got to try and beat us. We're confident in what we are. Not saying that Andy Reid needs trick plays, but Andy Reid makes you think, man, they did that to us once. Are they going to do that to us again in the fourth quarter? It's in the back of your mind of what you're thinking could happen next. Andy Reid doesn't repeat a lot of things, by the way. It's always fascinating to me. It's like, you're pitching a curveball, changeup, fastball, what's coming. You can't say, well, Andy Reid did this to me, so he's going to do it again. He's going to cut you apart a different way.
Mm-hmm. He's like that chick that only wears one outfit. Andy Reid only calls one.
5X. It's one outfit. It's a 5X.
Stop.
By the head.
Stop. He's the best coach left in the playoffs. I think he's the best coach in the NFL. I think what Bill Belichick did at Mac Jones this year was ridiculous. You can't tell me that the best coach in the NFL would have a defensive coordinator call the plays to just kill the whole team and have Joe Judge have this bad relationship with the quarterback. That's rule number one as a football coach. You have to have a good relationship with your quarterback, no matter who the coach is, offensive coordinator, quarterback's coach, head coach. The fact that Joe Judge and Mac Jones hated each other supposedly can't be the best coach in the NFL, in my opinion. He's the best winner in the NFL, just like Tom Brady's the biggest winner in the NFL, but he's not the best coach. Right now, Andy Reid is absolutely the best coach. And number two, I'd say is Kyle Shanahan. Even though he hasn't won a Super Bowl, which Kyle Shanahan does in San Francisco is remarkable. Do you agree, Dave, with Bill Belichick and Andy Reid and what I just said?
I agree with you. If I had to pick one coach, I'd pick Andy Reid right now. And I'm a huge Tomlin fan. I just find it amazing what Tomlin has done over the years. But for me, in the postseason, one game, as crazy as it sounds, because forever Andy Reid could not get to the Super Bowl. He kept losing in the championship game. Andy Reid to me is the most dangerous guy out there. Again, to lose Tyreek Hill and to be where he's at, I'm completely amazed.
Like Andy Reid, I'm trying to think of on top of my head of like just times on Monday morning or Sunday night where you're like, God, Andy Reid, why'd you do that? Like Shanahan's an incredible coach. Shanahan's done crazy things. Moments where I'm like, really, Kyle? Okay. Like against Cowboys last week, that was like half the game. I was like, geez, you're really playing risky here against Big Boy McCarthy on the other side. And then with Bill Belichick, you looked at the Mac Jones situation. You're like, dude, this was terrible. Like that, like you handled this year so bad. So it is by far in advance. I think Andy Reid, I mean, he's just a freaking genius. Like whatever it is, he's a genius. And if people notice too, like there's a span where he just kept losing guys on his staff. And then you're like, maybe that was like the kind of what you saw with Carson Wentz. Frank Wright was maybe the genius that went away, like maybe that took a little spirit away from him. But then you're like, no, like the brains of the organization's still there, and it's still an Andy Reid. And he's the king. I think he sits on top of the mountain. I still think he sits on top of the AFC. I think if you got to slay a dragon, you got to slay the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I
There's
think.
So many different... Go ahead, Josh.
Sorry, I think like I said, Andy Reid's the best coach left. I also want to talk about Frank Reich because you brought him up too. Him going to the Panthers. I didn't realize the Panthers, out of their 22 starters, I think 20 are still on contract for this next season. It's a pretty good situation, better than I thought. But also as a Charger fan, it's good news for us as well, right? Because if we make the playoffs next year, then we made the playoffs. It's good news. If we don't, Sean Payton, it looks like, is going to be there also. So I think Sean Payton could be available for the Chargers next season. Sorry, Dave, I cut you off.
No, it's a kind of point I was going with is we brought this up on the show 2 days ago, saying the more this drags on, do you believe that Sean Payton sits and waits for the perfect job? Does he wait for possibly the Dallas job, the Charger job, possibly the Rams job? You never know what McVay is going to do. I mean, again, if McVay decides, hey, look, I'm done, but at the same time, he gets to pick to me, a better group of choices than what he has right now in that market. I don't know, man. I keep thinking, what are the Chargers doing this week? In my mind, what are the Chargers doing? What's your evaluation process? It better not be one of those where guys are getting away from the game for a couple of weeks. The front office better be trying to figure this out because it's not working right now. If you aren't playing this weekend, you should be one of those teams that's working your ass off on trying to get better for next year. There's so many different storylines going into this weekend, and before the games are played, I'm kind of curious to ask you guys, which one do you like best? Meaning, let's say it's the Chiefs against the Eagles. It's Andy Reid against his old team, right? That crazy fan base in Philadelphia who fired Andy Reid going against his old team. I mean, that's going to be a huge storyline for a couple of weeks. You have the Bengals have been to the Super Bowl twice against the Niners and lost both times against the Niners. That's a whole storyline too. And yeah, there are people who maybe don't remember the last time they matched up. I mean, last time they matched up, Joe Montana was the quarterback for the Niners when they lost. And then you have the one team matchup that really there isn't a real big storyline there. That would be the Bengals against the Eagles. And there's so many things that are unwritten as far as people a lot of times want to see things that are unproven or something they haven't seen before. Is there a storyline matchup that you guys want to see everybody talk about for 2 weeks?
I think you said it. The Eagles and Chiefs. You got Andy Reid against the old team. You also have the Kelsey brothers going against each other, which I think would be a great storyline. For college football fans, you obviously want the Bengals and the Eagles because you got Bama and LSU against each other, and all the Bama fans want payback for the 2019 game where Joe Burrow, I think they won was something crazy like 42-38 or something like that. It was a shootout. So all the Alabama fans want payback, but for an NFL perspective, I absolutely think that Chiefs and Eagles would be the best one.
I'm trying to think hard. I think it would be really it'd just be interesting. Like, let's say, like, if no, I don't think they're gonna win. Well, that's a tease for later on. That's how you do it in the business, fellas. So like if Niners pull it off, right, and like they pull a win, and then it's either Burrow or Mahomes against Purdy, I think that'd be interesting just because it'd be kind of like to compare it to the early 2000s. I mean, I was just way too young to remember. Like Brady's first time, and he gets there. Was his first time when he faced the Rams? It was his first time, right? Yeah.
It's the
Faces the
twice.
Rams.
First time was the Rams.
Yeah, and you have the greatest show on turf. You have this crazy, explosive offense, and Warner's on top of his game. So I think that part would be cool. It'd be like, is this the story of the underdog that's going to come rising through the ranks? And please do not make a movie about him because it's going to suck. You just do it 30 for 30. Versus the guy that's the top of the mountain right now. That, like, let's just be honest, everyone's obsessed with. Everyone's like, this guy's the coolest. This guy's the best. And like a Burrow or maybe even Mahomes. So that's like the one I'm cheering for. The Andy Reid Eagles one would be fantastic too. I mean, I'm all for that one. Like, can Reid get one? I think if Reid got one on Philly and like embarrassed them, Philly would fall apart. I can't even imagine. That's the Phillies and the Eagles blowing it in the championship game. So that'd be a tough one for old Rocky Balboas to handle. But it's fun storylines, man. I mean, I'm obsessed with this championship weekend. I think even the ones this weekend are fun, and I'm so excited to see who comes out on top.
Here's an interesting line I'll throw to you guys, and you guys always get me on my age, but in all the years I've watched the Super Bowl, the team that loses always seems to say, "Man, I almost wish we didn't go." Like it is that painful to lose a Super Bowl game. To say it's easier to lose in the AFC NFC Championship game. It sounds weird. And for your fan base, it sounds crazy. By the way, I'll ask you guys on this one. The 49er Eagles game, the average ticket price right now is up to $2,500. Okay. So let's say, Josh and Mario, you go, I'll meet you in Philly. We're going to the game. You're looking at $5,000 just to buy a ticket to go to the game. Yeah. It's a lot of damn cheesesteaks. Let's say you're a season ticket holder, Mario. Okay. You're an Eagle season ticket holder. You say, man, I'm selling these tickets and I'm going to either take the money and put them towards season tickets next year, or I'm going to put them towards going to the Super Bowl in Arizona if they make it, or I'm going to sit there and say, I'm holding on, man. I'm an Eagles fan. This is what I got season tickets for, and I'm definitely going to the game. What are you doing with your tickets and your season ticket holder? You going, you selling, what's your plan?
What do you say, Mario?
You go first, Josh.
Oh, okay. I'm going to the game because if I don't, everybody knows what I did, and I'm a joke.
Everyone around you is going to let you know next year.
Yeah, they said, "Look at this guy. Like he goes to the biggest game."
No, he fake COVID.
That's maybe. I know a buddy that did that, but yeah, you got to go to the game.
Yeah,
you have to go to the game.
If I'm a Philly fan, Philly season ticket holder, and I'm in the NFC Championship, get in there at 6 a.m. with about 3 iced coffees, because it's iced coffee even in the winter. If you're not, don't even come back to me in the summer if you're not iced coffee all year round. And I'm sitting there and I am getting just filled up. I'm watching Rocky 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I am eating some cheesesteaks. I don't even know, going to fight with my father. I think they do that there. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to fill it up. And I'm going to go into that stadium shirtless. I'm going to go shirtless with just like some outrage. I'd go all out, man. I'd be that guy. I'd be like, this is fun for 5 minutes. That's what I would do. I'd be really locked in because it's once in a lifetime. Like you said, once at a time you'll see your favorite team make it and then never again. So you got to take advantage of those.
I love how you'd pick a fight with your dad. Just like, all right, it's on. It's superstition. I got to pick a fight with my dad. All right. That's too damn funny right there. It's very, very exciting. I will say this for anyone who's listening to the show right now, if you have never been to a Super Bowl and your team is in it, do whatever you can to go. I know it's crazy expensive. If you have the means to do it, I'm telling you, I'm a big fan of watching football on TV, the NFL especially, because if you get so much more. The game is actually the worst sight for an NFL game is actually inside the stadium. But if your team is in the Super Bowl does not disappoint you. I've been lucky enough to go to 5 of them. And I'm telling you, man, the Super Bowl is awesome every time. Awesome. It's worth going. You'll never forget it.
Which fan base will be the most annoying if they win the Super Bowl?
Philadelphia.
Right?
No, hold
Right?
on. You know
Just
what? I tell you,
don't say it.
I tell you what. Philadelphia, yes, but I'm gonna tell you right now, the fan base that gets a pass all the time. I don't know why, but there might be the worst. Is the 49ers.
49ers.
49er fans
You
are
guys keep
punks, man.
saying that, and I'm like, I can't.
Dude,
I want to
49er
get behind
fans.
it.
Dude, I hate to tell you more. Nobody fights like 49er fans. Everyone thinks it's like the Raiders or the Patriots or something. It's the 49er fans, man. Nobody throws fists faster than 49er fans. They're by far the worst I've ever seen.
It's true.
I've been around every single team in the NFL. I'm telling you, the Niner fans are insane.
Big
That's why the
talkers.
ticket prices are so high in Philadelphia. That's why they're $2,500. Last year for the same game against the Rams, it was $1,500. Average price of
Dude,
a
the
ticket. Now
49ers
it's
fans
$1,000 more.
travel like crazy.
Yeah, they do.
Like crazy, dude. They're right there with the Steelers and Cowboys, right?
Yeah.
Probably the best. They might be the best traveling franchise.
I think the Steelers and Cowboy fans are already there. I don't know if they're even traveling. I just think they're already in those cities. The Niner fans literally travel. But
Yeah.
I'll tell you, Mario, Niner fans love violence.
I've never met a Niner fan.
They choose violence.
I've never met a Niner
Pro-violence.
fan. So
Yeah.
Really? Yeah.
You never met a Niner fan? Oh,
Never
man,
met a
I'm
Niner
telling
fan.
you, dude. I've gotten involved in one fight in my life in a stadium, dude, and I got jumped by Niner fans. I'm telling you. It's not just me saying that. Real Sports did a whole thing on it about the violence of Niner fans. It's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
I
I
don't
wasn't
even
even
think
at a Niner game when I got jumped. I was at a Raider game and I got jumped by Niner fans.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
If
And the Raider fans didn't help out. I was kind of disappointed. I asked the LAPD, "Hey, you guys see me get my ass kicked?" You know, nothing. Nobody jumped in. Like the exit's that way. By the way, you're bleeding from your eye. Thanks.
the fact that no
Yeah.
Raider fan jumped in is pretty.
That
I
was
thought
more
they'd rally
heartbreaking
together.
than anything else. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was no
Thought
nation in Raider Nation that day.
Yeah. It's soft, you know.
All right, let's pick the games. Let's do it. Let's pick our games. You got the spreads?
All right, you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got the spreads. Pretty crazy line movement today, guys. Because Chiefs at one point were not favored. Like at one point, Bengals. Wow. Bengals were -2.5. And then now it's swung completely the other way, where it's Chiefs -1. So it's a pick 'em pretty much in that game. So AFC Championship in Burrowhead. Patty Mahomes versus Joe Burrow. Josh, who you taking?
Dude, I like the Cincinnati Bengals. If Patrick Mahomes was healthy, I would take the Chiefs, but he's not. I think Patrick Mahomes' injury is so bad that he's not going to finish this game. He takes one hit, I think, and he's out. So I'm going to go Cincinnati Bengals.
As much as I said the best quarterback and coach are with KC, and it had nothing to do with Mahomes' injury or potential injury, I think the Bengals have unfinished business. We've said on the show for a while that the Bengals were the team we were afraid of. I'm going to stay with Cincinnati as well. I'm going Bengals.
God.
It's tough, man. It's a coin flip, man. This is tough.
I hate to go 3 for 3, but I think it's Bengals too. Just because, dude, the way the Bengals O-line, yeah, they have injuries, but the way they played against Buffalo was insane. You can tell me pass rush, but if you're gonna tell me pass rush and Chris Jones, like it's all Bro did last year was eat the pass rush, and then he laughed in her face as the ball's in the end zone and he was laying down, going, doesn't really matter. And that's lost a lot of money thinking about the O-line last year. So I'm going Bengals. I took them. I might take him actually bet him now because I really like that too. Over under is 48. Do we like that too, gentlemen? Also, the Chiefs secondary is not the best. I think Burrow is gonna laugh at them. They're 18th against the pass in the league. But over under is 48. Do you guys think that
I got the under.
hits?
I got the under.
At the under.
You know what, man? I tell you again, as I'm talking, Mario, you have any idea what the weather's like in KC this weekend?
Not great.
I always
I'll
think
look it up.
48 is always the perfect number for an NFL game. The number is 48. I'll tell you what, to be different, I'm gonna go over and mark all these down since we're in the same direction. See where we can find a
It'll be
separation.
20,
in the
high of
three us here.
27.
Ooh,
High of 27
cool.
degrees.
It's
yeah,
getting
the
weather.
under does sound good. I'm going. I'm going. I'll go over. I'll go different than Josh just to change it up. What about you, Maura?
It's so weird because overs were on fire in the first round, unders were on fire in the second. I'm gonna go over because people are like, "Oh, Bengals are gonna send the house and like try to hit Mahomes." I'm like, dude, like I'm guessing Andy Reid has every check in the book to go. Yeah, if they blitz us, we're gonna do this, and then Mahomes still right behind them. So I think it's gonna go over as well. So over, under, over, and then the city of brotherly love, Eagles minus 2.5 against the 49ers. Josh, who do you got on that one?
Man,
Tough.
dude, that is so tough. I have the Eagles winning, but I have them like barely winning. So it's like 2.5, like is like sounds perfect. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
cover. I say they win by 3. So I don't know what to say to you guys. I think the Eagles win this game. I think it's actually going to be a tighter game than 49ers and Bengals. I mean, excuse me, it's going to be a tighter game than Chiefs and Bengals.
Man, it's really tough. I tell you, one of the things I'm proud about on the show when we've done predictions is I think in like week 3 or 4, when the Niners were really struggling, that we said the Niners were the best team in the NFC. Like and they had a losing record. People had to be listening to us going, these guys are the dumbest guys on the planet. And we said the Niners are the best team in the NFC. It feels weird to jump off the Niner bandwagon now, but I'm going with Eagles. And I think if this was probably a home game for the 49ers, maybe I'd go the other way. But I'm going the Eagles. I think they're the most well-rounded team going. I think the fan base is insane, after picking fights with their dads on the way in and the whole deal that's going to happen there in Philadelphia. I'm going Eagles. I'm going in Eagles Cincinnati Super Bowl.
I hate to do the clean sweep, but yeah, I agree. I think it's Eagles. Niners defense fantastic, but their secondary is their weak point. And I think Hurts and AJ Brown, Devontae Smith are just going to expose the living hell out of that. And Hurts is a better QB. Eagles are going to make Purdy play QB, and I just don't have any faith in him doing anything like that. But yeah, give me the Eagles. Might order a little cheesesteak too. I you know what I'm saying? Really lean into it.
Are you guys cheering for anybody at any point? Like, is there any one team that you're saying cheering for that team? Like, is there that you're riding in?
Cincy. I know Jalen personally, so I'm gonna go. I want the Eagles to win the whole thing because I know Jalen.
That's fair. I'm just Cincy. I got a lot of Cincy friends I went to college with, and they're good friends. And it's like Cincy, you haven't really had a lot going for you. The Reds are terrible, and your owner keeps threatening to leave if you complain anymore. So, I don't know. Take what you can get. What about you, Dave?
I think I'm. Dude, anybody but the Chiefs. I'll be honest with you. I can't stand the Chiefs. I mean, come on, we watch the AFC West all the time. I don't want to see the Chiefs win. Who do you think is more upset this weekend right now? Tyreek Hill or Zach Ertz?
Zach Ertz. I don't think Tyreek Hill cares as much as you think he does.
Yeah,
I think Tyreek Hill is very much about Tyreek Hill. Yeah.
I think he's thinking, I don't want you guys to win without me.
Oh, I'm sure he thinks that, but Zach Ertz has to be dying. Zach Ertz was the Eagles. He was the Eagles. Tyreek Hill was just part of the whole Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce show. Zach Ertz has to be dying.
I definitely. Hill seems like the type of guy where he's pretty happy with the season he's had. He's like, my stats are pretty good.
You're probably right.
It wasn't my fault that we sucked. It wasn't not sucked. It wasn't my fault that we lost in the playoffs. I did my part. I feel like he's more of that guy where Ertz is he's in Arizona, right? Yeah, Arizona.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he went there thinking something, and then they're like, this sucks. So I'd definitely say Ertz is the one that maybe they're nice enough and give him like a little ring to say here. No, you don't think so?
No. No. A couple years ago, after a game, Zach Ertz after a Charger Eagles game, Zach Ertz used my phone after the game to make a phone call, and he just walked off with my phone. I had to track him down all the way in the parking lot. No joke. In my iPhone. I was like, God dang it, Zach. So I hope he has a miserable weekend.
Wait.
Just going to say it like it is.
Did you tell him to take out the kicker on the Cowboys next week? I
did not give him any advice at all.
Over under 46.5 before we go.
Oh, yeah. I completely forgot. Go ahead, Josh.
Over. I think the Eagles put up something in the 30s, and I think the 49ers don't lose by a lot, so I think it's going to be over.
I was like going for the over. It's always more fun rooting for the over. I'm going for the over as well.
I can't. I agree with you. I will say an under in principle, but I'll never bet the under because I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
But in this game, I'm gonna go under. I think Shanahan's gonna try to. I think Shanahan's gonna try to make it miserable for America. Oh, you're gonna hate watching this game.
All right. So the next show we do will be, obviously, we'll have the answer. Who are the last two teams standing heading into the Super Bowl? Will be exciting. Also, any Charger news that we have, we understand that so many of you have clicked in for Charger news. Hopefully, we have something that they've given an idea of what's been happening the last few days. Hopefully, we'll have an idea of what new coaches are being added to the team, because you're seeing guys all around the league starting to sign guys, and you're wondering, well, did the Chargers realize that you can sign guys right now? And so Nathaniel Hackett, by the way, was named OC with the Jets. I'm sure most people listening by now will know that. But that was one of the rumors that he was going to be the OC with the Chargers as well. So you can check him off the board. But again, next show we do will be a Super Bowl preview, first one. And then hopefully we have some Charger news for you as well. But enjoy the games, everybody, on Sunday. Again, for Josh Palet, Mario Herron, I'm Dave Palet. Thanks again for listening to the Bolt City podcast, courtesy of Odyssey.